All right, let's just dive right in. If you've ever cracked open a pre-calculus textbook, you know it can feel, well, like this huge uncharted territory. But today, we're going to change that. We are going to actually map out the entire subject, turning that intimidating landscape into a clear, totally navigable journey.
And hey, it's not just you feeling that way. The source material we're looking at says it right there. This subject can be a real mystery. It's basically a collection of some pretty advanced algebra and trigonometry, all put together to get you ready for something much bigger.
And you know, that really gets to the heart of the frustration, doesn't it? You're sitting there memorizing rules thinking, why on earth do I need to know that tan squared x plus 1 equals secant squared x? It all just feels so disconnected, so abstract.
Seriously, what if you could see the whole path, from the very beginning to the very end? Imagine knowing where the big landmarks are, what tools you're going to need for each part of the terrain, and, most importantly, where you're actually heading. Well, that map is exactly what we're going to build today. So, before we lay out our brand new map, let's take a second to just appreciate the puzzle we're trying to solve. Why does this subject feel so jumbled in the first place?
I love how the book we're using puts it. It's not just one single idea. It's more like a collection of essential concepts. Think of it as the final training ground, where you gather all the skills you'll need to conquer that next huge mountain, calculus. And yeah, that's exactly why it can feel a little scattered sometimes.
Okay, so every great expedition has to start at a base camp, right? A place where you can gather your gear, check your supplies, and review the fundamentals. In pre-calculus, that base camp is algebra.
And here's the good news. You don't start from scratch. The journey begins on really familiar ground, just reinforcing the skills you probably already have. It's all about making sure that foundation is absolutely rock solid before we start the real climb.
So this slide here shows us our initial toolkit. Chapter 1 is all about sharpening our understanding of the basics, number systems, order of operations. Then Chapter 2 gets us ready to tackle equations, inequalities, and radicals. This is the absolute essential gear for the climb ahead.
So once we leave base camp, we enter this vast central territory on our map, the world of functions. And believe me, this is the real heart of pre-calculus. The whole thing boils down to this simple but incredibly powerful idea. For every single input, you get exactly one output. That's it. That's kind of like a machine, right? You put one thing in, it follows a specific rule, and one and only one specific thing comes out. This single concept is what we're about to explore from a ton of different angles. And the path through it is laid out so logically. We start with the basic language in Chapter 3, stuff like notation, domain, and range. Then in Chapter 4, we learn to see them by graphing and moving them around. From there, we dive into some really powerful types of functions, polynomials in Chapter 5, and then the super important duo of exponentials and logarithms in Chapter 6. See? It just builds, one step at a time.
All right, the next major region on our map is one that, let's be honest, often inspires a little bit of fear: trigonometry. But let's reframe that. This isn't just a random list of rules. It's an incredibly powerful toolkit for understanding angles, triangles, and all sorts of repeating patterns.
So here's how this toolkit comes together. It starts with the absolute fundamentals: sine, cosine, tangent. Next, you learn to graph them, and you see these beautiful, repeating waves that show up everywhere in nature. Then you get identities. Think of them as clever shortcuts to rewrite tricky problems. And finally, you apply all these tools to any triangle with the law of sines and cosines. Each step just adds another amazing tool to your kit.
So we've covered the two biggest continents on our map: functions and trigonometry. But guess what? The journey isn't over yet. There are a few more fascinating territories to explore before we finally reach our destination.
This timeline shows us the final legs of our trek. First, we kind of broaden our horizons, exploring new things like complex numbers and different ways to graph shapes with polar coordinates and conics. Then, we learn how to handle complexity, solving big systems of equations and understanding the infinite patterns in sequences. Every one of these skills is getting us ready for the final destination, Chapter 16.
This is it. This is the big one. The final topic in pre-calculus isn't just another chapter, it is the entire reason for the journey. It's the bridge that connects everything we've learned to the whole world of calculus.
And this is the key concept that makes the bridge possible: the idea of a limit. It's so cool. We're not asking what happens exactly at a point. Instead, we're asking what value is the function getting infinitely ridiculously closer to as we approach that point.
I love this.
The book calls this the launching spot for calculus. I mean, what a perfect way to put it. Understanding how functions behave as they get closer and closer to certain values, that is the fundamental idea that the entirety of calculus is built on. This is the moment where all those rules that felt so random finally click into place, all connected to a single, powerful purpose.
And that's really the ultimate takeaway, isn't it? Pre-calculus isn't just some random collection of topics. It's a carefully designed path built to lead you right to the front door of calculus. It gives you all the tools, all the concepts, and all the practice you need to confidently take that next step.
So we've seen the whole map laid out, from our algebra base camp through the huge worlds of functions and trigonometry, all the way to this final critical bridge. The path is clear now. The journey has a real purpose, so the only question left is, are you ready to cross?